Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. I have another exciting video for you. Today we're going to be building a real estate sales associate that works for you and calls local homeowners that just recently listed their properties and underwent a price reduction. At the end of this tutorial, your sales agent is not only going to call for you, but it'll sound something like this.
Hey, is this Mr. AI Money?
Hey, yeah, it is.
Hey, this is John at Negative Cash Flow Capital. I just noticed you listed your property for sale at 2717 Old Robinson RD. I'd love to give you an all-cash offer of $244,000. This offer allows for a quick and fair transaction in the current balanced market. Listings in your area are taking around 55 days to close. This would really expedite the process for you. How about we set up a time next week for me to come by, take a look at the property?
Wow, yeah, actually that works for me. How about Wednesday?
Great. Wednesday works perfectly. I'll see you then to take a look at the property. Thanks for your time and have a great day.
So in just a short 15 minutes, you'll be able to have a full working real estate sales associate working for you, calling people while you sleep. This AI agent works so well because it not only follows a perfectly crafted script that we make ourselves, but it also has a current real-time real estate market summary that gives it all the current sales data and what that specific home listings market is looking like. It knows if that market is a seller's market to pay a little more and sweeten the deal, or if it's a buyer's market that it can truly hold firm and start at a discounted price, which is what you'll see in the example today. It calls real property listings, which we capture in our Airtable, with all the relevant information at its fingertips, just like a real sales associate would, checking if the status is called or uncalled, and going through the list properly to make sure that every property has been called. So instead of getting punched in the face from cold calls like this,
This is Gene.
Hi, Gene. It's Steve from Synthesource Software. How are you? We're the worldwide
I'm
leader.
fine.
Good, good. Love to describe our new platform and get you onboarded.
It doesn't sound like anything that I would understand or know about or care about.
let's make outreach in real estate easier with AI and jump right into it. In today's video, you'll get a crash course of N8N on how I built this entire automation and set up my very own AI voice agent, tips and tricks I learned along the way, a complete Airtable tutorial on how I set up this table and connected it with N8N, and a step-by-step guide of Retell AI and connecting that with N8N to make these calls turn into a reality. If you want these templates or any other information regarding this tutorial, check out my school community, which will be linked below, where I'll be sharing all this completely for free. So if you like this content, like, subscribe, leave me a comment for what you want to see in the future. So jumping right into the nuts and bolts of this automation, if you've watched my past videos, you'll immediately be met with some very familiar faces within this real estate automation as well. And that is because with some tweaks and changes, I'm still able to use a lot of the same core nodes to get this data. And as I mentioned in those previous videos, the core nodes that we were using are applicable for so many workflows that we can transform and make valuable data sets for many different workflows. So nodes such as how we're getting the current listings and filtering those down to give us only the properties that give us the best investment opportunities with positive cash flow, and how we're pulling the market overview to get real-time sales data to give us a true market snapshot of where that current market is heading and what it looked like in the past. So I won't be going too into depth on how I'm getting the listings and filtering them down or how I'm getting the market data, but I will quickly gloss over it. So if you want to see an actual step-by-step tutorial that goes into depth more about these HTTP requests using the Rapid API Zillow API, then I'll link that video here and you can click over and watch it to set these up correctly. So let's first run this workflow so we can see what it's actually doing. So starting off, it's going to start with the form submission. And you'll notice there's not a whole lot of variables here. For this tutorial, I wanted this to be pretty specific on what we were doing. And we'll see that we're calling the sub workflow here to get the market overview and the summarization, going through the property listings and getting the rents estimate, and then ultimately filtering those properties, giving it to an AI message model to write our script, and finally upserting to our Airtable database for our calling agent to eventually call afterwards. So to break that down further on what that is doing, so after the form submission, it's collecting the location and passing it off to our market overview. This is where we're directly searching that location to pull all the past sales data, such as the median list price, sale inventory, how many new listings, and we're pulling this for all the historical data that Zillow has available to it. So this is a pretty extensive list and something that we can make a lot of assumptions from and be very accurate with. It even gives us median days to pending to show us how long homes are sitting on the market. From there, we end up filtering this down and giving us actionable insights such as a 6-month comparison, a yearly comparison, investment advice. And this is where we're going to be deriving a lot of market assumptions from and tailoring our script from. So you see it gives us action items such as prices are turning downward, consider more aggressive offers, overall risk is moderate, seller's market, and it gives us the current market has how many properties are selling at what type of list price and how long they're staying on the market, and comparing that to a year ago. And from there, if you've watched my past videos, you'll notice that the summarization chain is new to this workflow. So it's taking all these individual data points and giving us a nice summarization in the paragraph form. That summarization chain is eventually passed on to our regular workflow and incorporated with property listings. So joining up with our main branch here, you see we'll have a set node here, and that is going to be collecting not only our text from our market overview, but it'll also be setting a lot of parameters that are going to stay constant within this workflow. Parameters such as the listing type being for sale by owner, and that is the target market that we're going to be going after in this specific automation. And I like to have this set node with a lot of different parameters to pass on to the HTTP requests that I know I can have complete control over, and the user or myself doesn't have to continually put those in time over time if the automation is staying constant. Also mentioned on price reduction, that's true. And then is auction. Now this is important that it's not collecting these auction listings for one of two reasons. Mainly because you're not going to be calling an auction. You're not going to be calling an auction listing to try and buy it directly from them. They will just tell you, hey, it's an auction, just show up to the auction or bid in the auction. And secondly, if we include these auction houses, it will throw off our calculations and prices later since there is not a anchored price thing for the auction listing. And then this is also, like I said, the market summary that we got passed on to from our sub workflow. And from there, we're passing all that on to our Zillow search API, which will be getting all the relevant listings in that area with those parameters. And we're splitting those out to be able to pass to our rent estimate, which will be getting the individual rent estimates for each one of those properties. You see that we got 5 properties here, and it's going to go through each 5 of those and get the rent estimate to be able to calculate some of our investment metrics here. This is the exact same code that you've seen before in some of my videos when dealing with this automation. But for those of you that haven't seen those videos, it's just going to be returning us the house, the address, zip ID, the price, and then an investment snapshot, such as down payment, closing costs, cash on cash ROI, break even month. And this code node will be filtering us down even more to only show the cash flow positive properties. So you see we had 5 getting returned from rent estimate, and we only have 4 properties left. From there, we're going to be passing on to a message model that's going to be taking all that relevant data, such as our properties, our investments, and the current market snapshot that we gathered from our sub workflow. Now, this isn't the best prompt. It's just a quick prompt that I threw together just to make sure this worked for the tutorial. This could definitely be enhanced in a lot of different ways. So then from there, we'll see that we'll get our call scripts from this node. So you see, hey, this is John at Negative Cash Flow Capital. I want to give you an all cash offer of price for this property. Obviously, like I said, this could be structured a little bit better to make it more sales approached and a little bit softer of a delivery, but you get the idea. And from there, going directly to our Airtable, and I'll actually set this node up with you guys for this to work. So I'll delete this, and how we're going to set this up is in Airtable, create or update a record. And you're going to need a Airtable personal access token. I'll link that video here to how you do it, but essentially you're going to be going to Airtable, creating a base, then going into the personal access token creation process, selecting that base, and entering your token here. Very simple process, will not be hard at all. Jump over to that video and come right back. So once you're in Airtable, you'll most likely be met with making a table. You can make one from scratch. It'll probably give you a default layout like this, and you will just go in and rename these columns and give it the correct description. Now, it is important that you label it correctly on what it's going to be and what it's going to contain. You can delete this, and then changing the status. We are going to use statuses in this, and we're going to add them as uncalled and called. And then we can select the default option here to default to uncalled. And that's whenever we're uploading these records, we want to upload them and make sure that they're uncalled and only have them changed to called if we specifically write a workflow to do that. And we're going to have call script, going to be long text, and we can do cash on cash ROI, and this will be a number. And you can go through this entire list of objects and it will eventually look something like this, to where you can have the zip ID, the price, the bed, the bath, square foot, type. Now in this video, I'm not going to go through a complete scraping tutorial on how to scrape property listings to get the owner's contact information. That may be in a later video, and it's something that's definitely applicable in this workflow. But for now, I'm going to hard code in a Twilio number just so we can have some calls back and forth and get this automation working. If you'd like to see an incorporation of scraping contact information to make this fully autonomous, let me know in the comments and I can do that as well. So once you have this table set up correctly, how you want it, and all the data being captured like you want, you'll hop back over to your Airtable node, click your base, and from list, new property. And it will fetch all the columns for you that you made. And we gotta wire this up to get all the data. And then you're just gonna go in and drag and drop. I'm gonna go back to here, get address. This is where I'll enter the Twilio hard-coded number, like I said, status, uncalled, cash on cash ROI. Put that in there. And then we need to get our call script. And we can go ahead and test up. And boom, just like that, we should be able to see this in Airtable now. Oh, we have a bunch of columns. And boom, we have a bunch of columns here with all of our properties, our cash flow, our cash on cash ROI, status is uncalled, and then our call script here. So with some polishing, this would even be a perfect endpoint to be passing off to your real estate team for people to be manually calling, or for yourself to even using this as a cheat sheet whenever you're calling properties yourself. But with this channel, we need to make it even more exciting and pull the lever of AI even more. And that's where we're going to implement Retell AI. So you've probably heard of Retell AI, but if you haven't, it's a platform that allows companies or people to create AI phone agents for voice conversation, and allows you to really quickly spin up a voice agent for inbound or outbound calls, whether you're using it in our case for outbound calls and calling people such as homeowners to buy their properties, or for inbound, say you're a nail salon and want to have a voice agent to pick up the phone always and possibly schedule appointments. If you want to see more videos on Retell AI, I think it's really cool, and there's a bunch of use cases for it. So if you want to see more, let me know in the comments. But for now, you'll most likely be met with this screen. You can log in, make an account, and you will be able to get a free account, which is pretty generous. So once you're in your account, the dashboard will look something like this, and we will work from here and the documentation page to be able to incorporate this within N8N. So jumping right back to N8N, let's set up a quick workflow to be able to not only call our Airtable record and get our call script, but to call our AI voice agent at Retell AI that we're going to set up as well. We're going to start with a manual click trigger. And this is where you can get really creative on how you're triggering this, on if you want to watch for certain form submissions, Airtable updates, Google Sheets updates, any kind of update that you want to really make this fully autonomous. But for this tutorial, let's go with the click trigger and get right into it. So next we're going to need to get our Airtable records and get our call scripts. We're going to go Airtable search record. And this is where you'll need to incorporate that access token record. We're going to keep that source operation search from base. Select the same base and table that we just made. And for filter by formula, this is why we set our status as uncalled, because we're only going to want to call our uncalled properties that we have listed. So to do that, we're going to go parentheses, curly bracket, status, curly bracket, equals, and we're going to equals uncalled. And it is case sensitive and formatting sensitive. And then we'll close parentheses there. And this should return all of our uncalled properties. And perfect. So you see we have our scripts, we have our uncalled properties, and to fully check if this is working, you can just type in status called, and it should return us with nothing. Yep, it's working. And you can also go a step further and check by checking one of them is called, having one of them uncalled, so on and so forth. You get the idea. So from here, I'm going to put a quick limit in here so that it's only passing on one for this tutorial. And If you wanted to do this in real production, you'd have to loop through the properties, but for this, I'm going to limit to first item. Test this. So we have our phone number, our call script, and from here we can pass this directly on to our Retell AI. We're going to start with the HTTP request node, and there's going to be multiple ways to set this up, but I'm just going to use the quickest and easiest version that I've found. We're going to go with post, and this is where we're going to be jumping back and forth from the Retell AI documentation, our agent, and N8N. So for the URL, we're going to go back to Retell AI documentation page, and this is going to be docs.retellai.com. Then we're going to go to the API ref, and this is the URL that we're going to be using. So we'll just copy this, head back over to our N8N, paste it in there. Next, we're going to be going back into the Retell AI dashboard, and we're just going to create an agent. Create single prompt agent for this, start from blank. And this will be your agent dashboard whenever you set things up. So we can kind of run through this. You have different models here. And what's really nice about this, it actually displays the prices of the models on how it's pricing them. You'll see that 4.0 mini is by far the cheapest, with 4.0 real-time being the most expensive. So we'll just keep that with 4.0 right now. You also have a very good list of different voices you can choose from, and they're all from 11 Labs.
Hi, I'm Andrew, your sturdy AI support, shouldering your burdens and mapping out solutions.
But for now, we're just going to keep this default. So from here, you can go to functions, add multiple different functions, and here on how this agent is going to work. So we'll also in call on goodbye, save, and then you can also add call transfers. This will be if they ask to speak to a manager, or you want human functionality at some point to either close deals or do something with human intervention. You can also book on calendar, which I think is really cool, and check calendar availability. You can add knowledge bases to this, which will give it a lot more functionality and make it flow a whole lot better, but it will add a little bit of latency to it. Speech settings, you can add background noises. Let's do summer outdoor. Responsiveness, interruption sensitivity. This will basically just go over human on the other line, interrupt the AI, and how responsive it is to that without it just continuing to talk over. But you don't want to put this fully maxed out, because then it will catch background noise and stop talking. Enable back channeling. This will make it more human-like to use affirmations like yeah and uh-huh. Boosted keywords could be very important if you have a very niche market that you're using this in that has specific vernacular that it uses. Speech normalization, we're going to turn this on just because we are dealing with numbers and prices for our calls. And we're going to keep that the same and go to call settings. Call settings, we're going to turn this way down to 30 seconds. This will be in call and silence. So after 30 seconds, silence should definitely end the call. Max call duration, we're going to turn this down as well. Obviously, this is use case by use case, but for ours, definitely don't need to be having a long conversation. Pause before speaking. This will be important whenever you're doing outbound, because usually it takes at least a second for somebody to pick up and be fully aware. You don't want your AI agent to just be blasting out an intro before they even have it on their ear. Post-call analysis is pretty cool if you're going to be deploying this in a sales tactic such as this. You can get all these sales calls back and be able to really grade them and improve this model. And those are all the functions that we're going to be including this time. And welcome message, we're going to be initiating with AI begins with a dynamic message. And you can change this to be AI begins with a defined message. This is helpful if you're doing inbound, where you can say, hey, this is Sally at the local carpet store or something. But we're going to choose dynamic for ours. And here's the prompt window to be able to pass instructions and information on to your AI agent. Now, the most efficient way to do this for many use cases is to use Claude, ChatGPT, any of them to structure you a very detailed prompt for this and give it roles, objectives, skills, how it's going to be talking, etc. But for this tutorial, I'm just going to type a quick prompt in there and get this up and running. So here's a quick prompt, definitely not the prettiest, but something that will work in our use case for this tutorial. So now that we have the agent set up, the prompt, our agent settings all set up, let's get back to connecting this with the N8N so that we can have seamless integration. So you're going to back out to your dashboard, go to your API keys, and here's your API key right here. You can copy this, and you'll need to input this into headers. You'll type in authorization, error, and then paste this key in there. And next, we will need to send a body content type JSON, and then click using JSON. And this will give you a text box to enter JSON here. And we'll hop back to the Retell AI and go to the documentation. Now, once you're in the documentation, you'll click API reference and then go to create phone call. This is where we got the URL, and we're just going to continue down this list and create a curl for us to be able to copy and paste specific actions from there. So from number, which will be the number that the agent is using, and then the to number, who you're calling. You can make this dynamic, but like I said, for our case, we're going to be making this static and hard-coded in for testing purposes. Override agent ID, and then we will go into dynamic variables on passing on our script from Airtable to the AI agent. So the easiest way to set up a from number, if you don't already have a Twilio number bot, you can go to Retell AI, go into the dashboard, go to phone numbers, and you can click add here, and you can buy a new phone number here. Or if you already have a Twilio number, you can connect via SIP trunking. There are many videos on how to do that. I'm not going to go that in here, but the easiest way, especially with the free trial, is just to buy a new number, and it'll end up being something like this. And to connect it to a specific agent, you'll connect it from this drop down, and we can go ahead and copy this number right here. Go back to the documentation, enter it in there, and this is where I'm going to enter in my static other Twilio number here, and then override agent ID, hop back to our dashboard, go to our agents, connect the agent that we just made, and copy this agent ID right here. Back here, paste it in there, and keep going down the list. And we'll go to real dynamic variables, and then script, enter, and then script in here. And this can also be names, emails, anything that you're getting from maybe a form or any sort of Airtable configuration that you want to pass on to your voice agent to make it a little bit more personalized. So then we're going to go into here, and from this data array, we can copy that, and we're going to paste it in to our HTTP request node. And from here, we'll want to change script to being dynamic and including this call script, like so. And this is also, like I said, where you can put multiple variables in there and connect. If you had the person's name, this is where you could also place the phone number in there, so on and so forth. We're going to test this step to see if we have it fully set up and working. If we do, we should be getting a phone call. And I am getting a phone call that worked. So now that we've successfully tested that, let's delete this and do a final test on our workflow to see how we did. Go ahead, test this workflow.
Your AI money.
Hey, yeah, it is. What's up?
Hi, this is John from Negative Cash Flow Capital. I hope you're doing well. I wanted to reach out because we're really interested in your property at 2410 2nd Street, APT 845, and would love to make you a competitive all-cash offer of $224,000. How can we make this deal happen today?
Well, guys, there you have it. We successfully scraped Zillow API for sale by owner properties with the recent price reduction. We've gotten Zillow real-time market updates from past sellings to get a current market snapshot on how we should structure our sales calls. We summarized all that together and implemented it into an Airtable to store that property and all of its relevant data points. And then lastly, we hooked up our very own AI voice agent with Retell AI, pulled from that Airtable record, and made a cold outreach with Retell AI following the key script that we made with the property data and real-time market data. Now you can polish that script a whole lot better, make it a whole lot more efficient and a lot softer, and the sky's really the limit. I really thought working with Retell AI was cool for this project and is something that I may do more in the future. If you want to see that, let me know in the comments. And if you like this video at all or this real estate series, let me know in the comments. And if you got any value from this or want any of the templates from this entire workflow, join my school community. The link will be down below. All the templates are free, and shoot me a DM whenever you get in there. So guys, until next time, see ya.